Tottenham have today held talks with former Wolves manager Nuno Espirito Santo as the pursuit of a manager moves into its third month with yet another name linked and another name Spurs have apparently made their number one target. Today we're going to go through all the stories that have led us to this point. We're going to talk about Nuno, the potential for him to be Spurs manager, what it could mean, also the hashtag NoToNuno, which is trending number one in the UK and Ireland tonight, and essentially talking everything that you need to know about this potential deal. Before we do get into that, we are so close to 9,000 subscribers. We are currently 14 off. So please, if you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and let's see if we can get to 14 subscribers or to 9,000 on the stream tonight. That'd be really appreciated. But look, let's just dive straight into this. The news tonight is coming from the Telegraph that Tottenham have held talks with Nuno Espirito Santo. Talks involved his style of play, Harry Kane's future, and Heung-min Son's contract. So taking that bit by bit, let's start with Nuno Espirito Santo's style of play. A very good point was made on Twitter a while ago that what we may say about Santo's style of play right now and what we may have said last year or the year before are two very different things. He has had to really adapt his side this season and change to a more pragmatic style of play, if you want to put it in a nice way, with their loss of Matt Doherty, their injury issues, and especially losing Raul Jimenez. So they've been a lot more defensive this season. And I had a chat on Twitter a while ago with Dave Asapardi from Talking Wolves, a very good YouTuber, one that I'm lucky enough to have worked with on his channel in the past. And he said that essentially Nuno Espirito Santo is another Mourinho. I'll get that comment, the exact comment, up in a second. But first of all, Ian McMahon has joined the channel membership. Ian, thank you so much for becoming a championship member. Really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. All the perks will be available in the community feed if you want to go and check those out. And we will be starting our member calling shows very soon. Hopefully when Spurs get a manager. So I'd love to see you on one of those as well, Ian. But thank you for becoming a channel member. So I tweeted out a while ago about this one, about the mystery player actually that we'd apparently been signing. And Dave said that it could be maybe Nuno coming in and Adama Traore could be the player that we're getting. And I asked him what he felt about this, and he said he's almost a carbon copy of Mourinho, to be honest. Likes to sit deep and defend narrow leads even when teams are there to be attacked. And well, that's what we hated about Jose Mourinho. That's the part of him that we really did not want to see, and that is coming from a very knowledgeable Wolves fan. So immediately concerns there. Likes to sit deep and defend narrow leads even when teams are there to be attacked. And that's what we want to avoid. Ryan, little big man, good to see you in the live chats. It's hashtag Maddie to 10k. Yes, let's get there as quickly as we possibly can. But this isn't what Spurs need. This isn't what Spurs are looking for. Now, I understand that Tottenham have put to the wayside Paratici's targets as manager and are actually back working with Steve Hitchens' list, which to some extent does kind of agree with this story, I would say, in that he is a manager with Premier League experience, and he doesn't really seem like the type of man that Paratici would look to bring into the club. So this news that he could be back on Steve Hitchens' list is looking very viable right now. And no one is going to deny the work that Nuno Espirito Santo has done at Wolves. He did absolutely incredibly there. Kevin, thank you so much for subscribing. He did a very good job getting them up into the Premier League, and in their first two seasons really challenging for Europe and nearly getting them into Europe's elite competitions. And again, really struggled last year with a very difficult season for very different reasons. Alvin Block's good to see you in the live chat. Says hashtag Potter in. We'll talk about Potter as well because there's new links there, along with a couple of other managers. But Santo's done a fantastic job, but he's too similar to Jose Mourinho, and that is exactly the type of manager that we are trying to get away from. If that is the style of play that we want, if that is the style of play that we feel will bring success to this club, well, then we should have stuck with Mourinho. We should still have Jose at the helm, because there's no point in bringing a less successful, less experienced, less capable manager of the exact same style in. Because not only is it just not what this club wants, but it's exactly what these players want to get away from. Paul Markey with the €5 super chat. Paul, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate the support. Says getting totally fed up with all the garbage on the new manager. The only candidate out there who meets the criteria as laid down is Galtier. And Paul, as I'm sure you know, I'm a big fan of Galtier. I really do think he would be a good man for Spurs. I'm not sure if he fits into the criteria that the club or Paratici may be looking for, but I agree, I'd love to see him in there. But again, thank you for the super chat. The Irish Jasper David says, no, not Nuno, I don't like his style of play. And that is a big concern. We have Dean in here. Dean, good to see you in the live chat as always. Says, why was NoToNuno trending? And this is something that I tweeted out about a while ago, and it was met with kind of different reactions. As I mentioned there on the top of the show, hashtag NoToNuno is trending number one in Ireland and the UK. Clive, thank you for subscribing. I have a big issue with hashtag NoToNuno. And look, Spurs fans, as always, 100% we deserve to have our voices heard. Doxwell, thank you for subscribing as well. We always should, our wants or needs and what we want from the club should always be heard and should always be listened to. But there's a certain way that you have to do it. And I tweeted, I said, if you are willing to tweet hashtag NoToNuno, well then you really missed the point of hashtag NoToGattuso. And I got a reply from Lily White Rose, who is a fantastic page on YouTube, one that I really, really love following, and I love all of the content on that page. Said, it seems it's the only way the club will actively listen to the fans. You can be against Gattuso for his multiple issues away from the pitch, as well as his awful management, and also be against Nuno, as you don't want Jose football without the trophies. They are not mutually exclusive. And look, I agree with that. You can be against, you can have your opinion on all this, but the point I was trying to make is using the hashtag NoToNuno completely dilutes the importance of using it for Gennaro Gattuso. If we start hashtagging every single thing we are unhappy about, it will start to lose its meaning, and the chances of being listened to when it actually matters, for example, with Gattuso or with the European Super League, well then the hopes of being listened to then will quickly fade away, and all of a sudden we're going to be back in that position where we overused and we over diluted the part of our voices that were actually being heard, and we're biting off our nose to spite our face. And there are much worse candidates we can get from the Nuno Espirito Santo. Let's not forget that as well. Let's not forget what could have been. Quaidco, thank you for subscribing. Shauna, good to see you in the live chat, says Levy again contradicting himself. DNA of Spurs isn't Nuno. And so many channel members in here. Bradley, Aaron, Mark, good to all see you in here as well. This isn't the DNA of Spurs in the way that he plays. It's exactly the DNA we are trying to get away from. Now, the NoToNuno, massively against it. If that's how you want to have your voice heard as a Spurs fan, of course you are entitled to that. That is your right, and I hope you go out and do that and make your voices heard in the way you want to. I just personally really disagree with it, because we said no to Gattuso, not because we didn't start hashtag no to Gattuso because he didn't get Napoli to the Champions League last season. We didn't say no to Gattuso because he got relegated with Pisa and got sacked after 3 months. We said no to Gattuso because he is an absolutely horrible, awful, disgusting potential representative of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. We said no because he is a racist, an unapologetic racist, bigot, homophobic, sexist, misogynistic, every way you want to do. That is why we said hashtag no to Gattuso. And that is why we did it to the extent that our voices were heard by the club. We should not do that with Gattuso now, because like I said, it completely dilutes the importance and the meaning of what this fan base achieved last week by getting Gattuso, the talks ended and all of that. We need to avoid doing that, because again, the importance, the credibility of us doing that is completely wiped off the face of the earth. And next time there's a manager like Gattuso, or next time there's a European Super League, well, they won't care what we have to say. Because if we keep going down this path, we will object to everything they do and everything they say. 80, thank you for subscribing. So we just need maybe make our voices heard in another way, or just let this play out the way it's going to happen. Because, and again, that could be a scary thing to do, but just because it has worked with Gattuso, it doesn't mean we need to do that with everything. Because again, it just completely dilutes the importance of all that, and I think that could be a really, really bad route for these fans to go around. Now, as I mentioned there, the talks with Nuno focus on his style of play. The other part was Harry Kane's future. I've gone back and forth on Harry Kane and where he'll be playing next season in the last couple of weeks. At the moment, I do think he will be a Spurs player next season. Of course, Manchester City have made their bid, £100 million plus a choice of some players like Laporte, Mahrez, Sterling, Jesus, and Bernardo Silva, I think. I don't think that's going to happen. As far as I know, Spurs want at least 150 million plus a player, and reports in the last couple of days are creeping out because that Manchester City will just wait till next summer, because they feel like Daniel Levy will do a Levy that will go full on Levy and prevent Kane from leaving this summer. So I do think Kane will be at the club next season. However, I don't think Daniel Levy using Kane as a leverage in negotiations with the manager, I don't feel as though that's kind of a sign that he'll stay, because Levy could easily say, like he did to Antonio Conte, look, we'll keep Harry Kane if you come on board. Then in 2 weeks' time, if City make a bid of a certain amount, well then he'll let Kane go. So I don't want to pay too much attention to what Daniel Levy is reportedly saying in these negotiations. But I do think solely down to the fact that it's going to cost them way too much money to prize Harry Kane away from Spurs, that Manchester City will not be able to complete that deal this summer. The other part of that is, of course, Heung-min Son's contract. That's being finalised, I'm sure, as we speak. Fabrizio Romano, of course, was on the channel on Saturday, and he said it is only a matter of time. Alistair Gold also said that Spurs expect to formalise that contract this summer, and that Son will be tied down to a very lucrative deal. From what we're hearing, it will be some very, very high wages, perhaps maybe putting him past Kane. But I do think that Harry Kane has a parity clause in there, so Kane, without even signing a new contract this summer, could end up getting a bit of a raise for all of his troubles. if he even has some of those. But look, let me know in the live chat your thoughts on Nuno Espirito Santo as a manager, because I know personally it's not the worst option, but I don't want to see it happen. I'd almost lean towards Graham Potter perhaps as a more viable and more beneficial option for Spurs. But let me know your thoughts in the live chat. I'll get through as many of those comments as I can. Dan says, Matt, I think you underestimate how many people said no to Gattuso just because they didn't like his tactics or his treatment of Jordan. And Dan, I don't underestimate that at all. I've no doubt a lot of the people who were using that hashtag were doing so simply on a footballing basis. But the reason behind why it started and the reason why it gained so much traction in the first place was because of Gattuso as a person rather than his managerial shortcomings. Jack says, I'm absolutely exhausted with the manager fiasco. In the end, we will end up being dissatisfied with the appointment. Same scenario happens every time we are linked with the top player. And I've said this quite a bit, so I'm not going to go too much into it. But simply because we had Antonio Conte and Mauricio Pochettino were the ones that we, whether it was by the media or by leaks from the club, whatever it was, we thought we'd end up with one of those. Any manager is going to be a disappointment. And I feel like someone to the level of Erik ten Hag is probably the best way that we can go. But whether or not that's going to happen, I think we'll have to wait and see. Jack says anyone rather than Santo, so definitely not looking for that one. Doxwell, quoting Daniel Levy, says values reflect those of our great club and return to playing football with the style for which we are known, free-flowing, attacking and entertaining. Those are the words that Daniel Levy himself used when he was talking about the manager we would appoint. That Doxwell says, what on earth is Levy doing? If it's really true that Paratici prefers a more conservative head coach, none of it makes sense. And that's a massive point in itself. Why would Daniel Levy come out and talk so much about this manager we're trying to get Steve Hitchen to draw up the shortlist and all that, and then move for Paratici, who in his nature is going to go for a very different type of manager? It from the beginning was a massive problem, and we seem to again have come full circle, as again I understand that Spurs are back working off Steve Hitchen's list for a manager, which is again just you can't even begin to talk about the shambles that all this is. Carl says, what all this stuff on Poch and Leonardo not even talking and still wanting to leave? Look, there are reports that still suggest Mauricio Pochettino wants out of PSG this summer. Just getting some breaking news there from Joe and Sam reporting it there as well. The BBC are now saying Nuno Espirito Santo is now the leading contender to become the next Tottenham Hotspur coach. That story first came out from the Daily Mail earlier today, courtesy of Ian Ladyman and Sammy Mockwell. And again, look, the name Daily Mail will immediately throw a lot of people off, but Sammy Mockwell has been quite accurate with a number of transfer stories in the last couple of years for Spurs. And again, BBC now echoing that story. Ian Dennis and Simon Stone of the BBC say that Nuno Espirito Santo is now the leading contender to become the next Tottenham Hotspur coach. As you can see beside me there, the odds for Nuno Espirito Santo have been shortening all day. Short is 6-4 with Paddy Power and Betfair. Boyle Sports have suspended all markets on Tottenham's pursuit of a manager. I'll have a quick look and see if those odds have changed. The other manager who's actually shortening in the betting markets today is Steven Gerrard, who's down as short as 9-2 with William Hill and 5-1 with Betfair. Paddy Power, Betfred and Sky Bet. That's another story I was going to touch on quickly there as well. The Telegraph are reporting that Tottenham are still interested in Graham Potter, Steven Gerrard and Roberto Mancini as potential managers. Now, I think Mancini is purely down to the fact that he's performing very well with Italy at the moment, and with Paratici coming in. I think I read earlier that Mancini actually signed a new 5-year contract in May, so I'm not sure there'll be any traction in that one picking up anytime soon. But look, I mean, he is a Premier League winning manager, so if it happened, I would definitely be in favour of that one, but I really can't see it happening. Graham Potter seems to be the name that's always creeping up. It's him and Erik ten Hag that really have been there from minute one. I think we'll be there from to the final minute when we do eventually appoint a manager. It of course could be one of them, but Graham Potter, we're hearing the last couple of days, the Spurs have not yet made an official approach to Brighton or the manager himself to try and get that deal done. And Steven Gerrard, look, I can see where the links are coming from. He has of course worked very, very well with Rangers, a fantastic campaign last season, did quite well in Europe as well. I just don't think he has the experience yet to step into Spurs, and the Scottish League is of course a much weaker league than anywhere else. So that's not one I will be in favour of, but I think one to keep an eye on given how quickly the odds have shortened tonight. Ryan says, at this point, who is your ideal candidate? If we have to look at who's ideal and who's the most realistic one, Ryan, I'd go with Erik ten Hag. Alistair Gold said in the last week or so that even after he signed that new contract with Ajax, Erik ten Hag was still interested in the Spurs job, and there is a feeling in Ajax that he will stay true to his word and stay true to that new contract that he signed. But if an offer big enough comes in, I think he'd be willing to go. And it seems as though Ajax extended that contract kind of as a safety net for themselves, in that if Eric Ten Hag almost does leave, they will actually now be entitled to compensation. Whereas with the initial 1-year contract, they wouldn't have been. So potentially just lining their pockets there with that one if Ten Hag does leave. But right now, if I had to choose, I would definitely go with him. Mark Woodland says, I think if we get Santo, it shows that Paratici is getting control of football matters, which is what we wanted. We just have to see how it pans out. And that's a good point. And it's a point that I made with the pursuit of Paulo Fonseca and Gennaro Gattuso as well, that as much as we may have been against those appointments, both for very, very different reasons, in the end, I think a lot of Spurs fans had kind of warmed to the idea of Paulo Fonseca. But as much as we were against those, it showed that we were kind of getting what we were asking for in terms of Daniel Levy regressing the control of footballing decisions, of footballing power and all that. But Paratici is certainly not made a good start and made a good first impression to the Spurs fans. As good as he was with Juventus and as much success as he brought them, when one of the first things he does is almost confirms right down to the last detail, almost has Paulo Fonseca appointed, and then turns away for a man in the ilk of Gennaro Gattuso, I think immediately causing problems there for himself. And that, I believe, is when Spurs then shifted back to Steve Hitchens' list for their manager, which is where Nuno is coming back into it. And Graham Potter as well. Steven Gerrard, I would say, to some extent, does fit in that list from Steve Hitchens as well. But there's a lot to take in, a lot to do. Jake says, hot take, Nuno will be better than Ten Hag. Jake, good to see you in the live chat. It's been a while since I've seen you in there. Look, I think there are aspects of Nuno that would be better than Ten Hag, because he has that Premier League experience. I suppose that's it really. He has that Premier League experience. I think style of play and kind of the caliber of player that he's worked with, and a few more things. I do think Eric Ten Hag would probably fit into that job a bit better, but Premier League experience could be a decisive factor for Spurs, because managers coming into the league for the first time don't always have a good time. I've looked at Frank de Boer, who was so successful and such an impressive manager in other places, and he only lasted 4 games at Crystal Palace. You can talk about Louis van Gaal at Manchester United. There's probably other examples there that are coming to me at the moment, but it doesn't always work out. But I think if we're going to be taking a risk in the shape of Eric Ten Hag or Nuno Espirito Santo, personally, I would rather take that risk on Santo. Jack there confirms what I was saying a while ago. Mancini has just signed a new 4-year deal for the Italian national team. No chance of getting him, so he's going to be carried right through the World Cup in 2022 and Euro 2024. So not too much issue with that one. Kev Williams says, Matt, what are all the managers we are linked to now? I don't have the full list of managers that we've been linked to the whole way through, but at the moment it's even just looking at the betting odds: Nuno Espirito Santo, Graham Potter, Steven Gerrard, Roberto Martinez, Jurgen Klinsmann is still in there, Eric Ten Hag, Jurgen Klinsmann, Julian Lopetegui, who the Sevilla president confirmed turned down a dizzying offer from Spurs. Mauricio Pochettino still in there. Ernesto Valverde odds drifting quite a bit today. With him, Fabrizio Romano has again said today that Spurs did make contact last week, essentially just trying to gauge his interest in the job. I can't see much developing in that one if that initial contact was made, and now we're apparently kind of leaning more towards Nuno Espirito Santo. I think we can probably forget about those Ernesto Valverde links until Spurs mess up the Nuno Santo appointment, which, judging from my estimation, is probably due in 2 or 3 days. If Spurs are to do with Spurs on it. Just to reiterate the breaking news in the last 10 or so minutes, the BBC are now also echoing the story from Sami Mokbel and Ian Ladyman earlier today, saying that Nuno Espirito Santo is now the leading candidate to become Tottenham's next manager. His odds again are as short as 6-4 with a few betting markets. One thing that Santo would fix for us, or would likely fix for us, is a defence. Maybe not in the way that we would want. We said way too much on the channel how awful our defence was last season. But he's a defensive manager. He worked very well with that Wolves defence in the early seasons in the Premier League. They were never that team who were going to go out and score 3, 4, 5 goals against you, but they would get 1 or 2 and be able to hold on to that lead. And look, you can criticise that as well to some point in the same way that you wouldn't Jose Mourinho, and that he often defends those leads that you could probably increase if you did go out and try and get that second, third goal. But he would improve the defence. Whether he'd kind of work well with that midfield and that attack as well, look, that remains to be seen. If this does go ahead, which at the moment is looking the most likely man to get in. Look, it's 63 days at this stage since we sacked Jose Mourinho. We need to get a manager in Again, Spurs fans not too happy with hashtag NoToNuno trending number 1 in the UK and in Ireland, but it has to come to an end soon. It really does. The transfer window has been open for 15 days now, over 2 weeks. Just touch on as well that story from The Athletic earlier today, which I put up a video for people who haven't seen it, that Spurs have agreed a deal pending the approval of their new manager to sign a mystery player, an international they've been tracking for a couple of weeks. I see some people in the comments mentioning Max Aarons. He's not an international footballer yet, so I think we can rule him out of that one. The general feeling is that it's one of Joachim Andersen or Marcel Sabitzer. Of course, Sabitzer having a fantastic Euros, and Joachim Andersen at the moment struggling to get into that Danish team. But if I had to guess who it was, if we were taking this story as true, I would say Joachim Andersen, because I think it is only a matter of time before we get that deal done this summer. I think he will be a Spurs player next season. That could be all sorted out. Nobody knows. I have heard that there's a feeling within the club that this story about this mystery player has been linked to the Athletic simply as a smokescreen to make it look as though Spurs are looking for players, whereas they are solely and completely focused on the managerial hunt. So that one definitely has to be taken with a pinch of salt. Mark says, Matt, do you think Paratici is being influenced by Mendes? Look, Paratici has an incredible relationship with George Mendes. He got that deal done for Cristiano Ronaldo to go to Juventus, and it's one that people really never thought we'd see a transfer of that caliber, especially to the Serie A. Paratici managed to get that done, I'm sure, relying quite a bit on his relationship with George Mendes. And we all know the situation with Gennaro Gattuso. He is represented by George Mendes, and he left Fiorentina after 22 days because they refused to sign players simply because they were represented by Mendes. So if there had been those talks with Gattuso, if it had developed perhaps as much as it could have in that 24 hours, I think there would have been a certain level of agreement there between Paratici and Mendes that he will bring in some of his players and his clients in there as well. So I think Mendes probably did have an effect on that, but the fact that it didn't go through, maybe that relationship with Paratici Mendes has been negatively affected. I don't know, but I do think there would have been something there. Ryan says, sticking with Ryan Mason an option for Levy, or would that be quite a ridiculous decision given the lack of experience he has? Personally, I think that would be a crazy decision, and I think that would simply be an acceptance of out and out sheer failure in this pursuit of a manager. If we go from Conte and Poch down to Fonseca, that's a failure. If we then go from Fonseca down to the likes of Gattuso, and with all due respect to Santo as a fantastic manager, just not the right man for Spurs, then if we continue making that step down to Ryan Mason, for me that is a simple acceptance that they have not done their job, which we know they haven't done. But from their part will be an acceptance there. The lack of experience is a big concern. Some of the results we got towards the end of last season, the players he was playing, I think that's a no-go for us. But look, with Daniel Levy, Ryan, absolutely anything is possible. Danny Kiriakou, the bun, good to see you in the live chat, says, I think Levy should be the manager. Look, would anyone here actually be surprised if Daniel Levy made himself the manager? I really don't think there would be too much surprise in there. Guys, we are one subscriber away from 9,000. It's going to be the third huge milestone of this managerial hunt for Spurs. We started this at about 6.4 thousand subscribers. We're one away from 9,000. So please, if you haven't already, if you want more updates like this throughout Tottenham's pursuit of a manager and the Tottenham Hotspur Transfer Talk series throughout the summer, plus another interview with Fabrizio Romano coming up in the next couple of weeks, please do hit that subscribe button, as Ash Moore has just done. Ash, thank you very, very much for hitting that subscribe button. I really, really do appreciate it. With Tickers just updated, we are on 9,000 subscribers. Crazy stuff. Another huge achievement in this transfer window. The next goal, the next step, the next milestone is 10,000 subscribers, which is absolutely crazy to say. But thank you everyone for that support. I really do appreciate it. And thank you, Ash, as well, for tipping us over to 9k. It is massively appreciated. But look, hopefully, and I say this with every fibre of my being, hopefully we do have a manager before we hit that 10k mark. I wouldn't put my entire faith in Spurs for that just yet. But to reiterate that news, according to a number of sources, Nuno Espirito Santo is the leading candidate for the next Tottenham, to be the next Tottenham manager. And the Telegraph reporting that Spurs have gone so far as to hold talks with Nuno Espirito Santo, focused mainly on style of play, Harry Kane's future, and Heung-min Son's contracts. A lot of congratulations in the live chat. Sean, Romario, Harvey, Ryan, Carl, Dan, Aaron, thank you so much for all of that. Jack says, Fabrizio Romano said we'd have a manager this week. Only 2 days to go. Subscribers continue to fly in. Thank you, everyone. Brett, Skittles, Leah, Bella, Jay, Armanoid, all of you. Thank you very much for subscribing. I think a lot of this from these journalists, and I say this with the utmost respect for Alistair Gold, for Fabrizio Romano, for all of these journalists. I respect them so much, and the graft that they put in, and the quality of information that they do bring to us. But I feel a lot of this, Alistair Gold has said it a few times, manager in the next 7 to 10 days. Barry, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. Rohan, please don't spam the live chat. As much as we can say there will be a manager in the next 7 to 10 days, or we'll have the decision will be made in the next week or so, we've heard that so often that I think we just have to start ignoring that, because it could be a case of Spurs wanting the job, the situation to be settled, or wanting that manager in the next 7 to 10 days, but them wanting that and it actually happening, as we found out, are two very, very different things. So I think we need to forget about any of these time frames that we're seeing, or any indication that we'll have a manager at the end of the week or whatever. But we're surely at a point now where the manager will be in soon, where the manager has to be in soon, because this is an absolute farce. It is an absolute shambles that is not only making this fan base the most disillusioned it has ever been, or the most disillusioned fan base within the Premier League, but it's making us a laughingstock to people outside the club. Lorenzo Insigne, the Italian national, said today that Gennaro Gattuso reached out to him and personally said Tottenham are a mess. That is where we are at. This man, who has not lasted in a job longer than a year and a half, has called us a mess. That is where we're at. This just needs to be sorted out. Barry says, I'm unsubscribing again until 10k. Look, you can do that as long as you get me to 10k, Barry. That's all I say. I appreciate it, though. Danny says, big up to the best news source in the land, Matt Hayes. Thank you for that, Danny. Really appreciate that. As Matario says, the world's most desperate club. That's what we are at the moment. That's what we're appearing to the fans, to everyone within football, to everyone outside of football. It needs to be sorted, and hopefully it will be sorted soon. But when it is sorted, this channel will be the first place that you hear that news. Debanyan, thank you for subscribing. So please follow in the footsteps of Debanyan and Harry and Ryan, music from Ryan, Dean, Chris, everyone who's subscribed. Hit that subscribe button down below to be kept up to date on all of Tottenham's pursuit of a manager, plus the Tottenham Hotspur Transfer Talk series coming back very shortly, and the exclusive interview with Fabrizio Romano coming up again in the next couple of weeks. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in. Make sure to hit that like button on your way out. We're at 127 likes with over 500 people watching, so I'm sure we can get that to 200 likes. I have the full faith in the Matt Army, as David Harris dubbed him one day when I wasn't here. Thank you very much for watching, as always, and let's hope there's some better news coming up soon.